our day.
I thought you said let's do this. I was like, oh, we're getting naked.
We're getting naked.
Yeah, I was like, okay. All right. Hey, how's it going?
Howdy.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Coming Up for Air, an introspective podcast. I'm your co-host Jaxon,
I'm your co-host Brendan.
and today we have a special guest.
My name is Steven.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, bro.
Steven is a friend, co-worker.
Friend/coworker of mine that I have recently gotten to know and stuff like that. And I don't know, I think my man's over here has a really dope ass story and a lot to be learned from. And within the couple months that I've known him, I think I've learned a lot, just like wisdom wise and knowledge wise, and just kind of how to like see the world and shit like that. So I asked him to come up on here and be able to, you know, kind of share his experience and his life story and stuff like that, because I feel like it needs to be heard.
Well, thank you.
Got you, bro.
But yeah, we're going to kind of talk a lot about his life and some of the things he's been through. And then we're going to also talk about some random bullshit. Per usual.
Hell yeah.
But before we get into your life, Steven, let's hit a check-in. Brendan, do you want to start?
Sure.
We go round table.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, as of Jaxon knows and Steven knows, because I've been talking to Steven about it too, I've recently been trying to do like this kind of like cleanse of certain shit and like building good habits, dropping bad habits. And I've always been trying to like get my habits straight and like get my like life straight together and shit like that. But I've always had like problems with consistency and being lazy and shit. So I think the biggest thing for me so far has been like kind of just like battling yourself in your head. And like I think the biggest growth points you have in your life is like when you decide to do something you don't want to do. Like anytime you hear somebody, whether it be like somebody in the gym or like any businessman or something like that, they're always like, you make the biggest growth like steps when you do something when you don't want to do it. So like even in the gym, like when you're in the gym and like, you know, you're hitting legs and like you don't want to hit leg day, the 9 times out of 10 is probably like your best leg day that you've had in like
Dude,
weeks.
I hate the gym.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But like,
I love it.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
dude,
like he's a gym rat. You know
Really?
what I mean?
Do you like the gym?
I like. Do I like the gym? Well, yeah, and no. I mean, I go because it's my me time.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can tune out everybody around you, then it kind of works best for you.
Dang.
But
That's the same reason my significant other likes to go, is because she likes to tune everything out, and she's like, it's just
you get
me
lost,
time.
lost in your own little world.
Yeah,
and
it's
you
almost
just-
like therapeutic. You know what I mean?
It really is.
When you can just like, and I feel like there's almost like a bonding moment that you have with yourself when you're like genuinely breaking down your body, and then you kind of like get past that like level, and you're like, oh shit, like I can really do this, bro. You know what I mean? Like there's been times where like when I first started working out with him, he was like, all right, we're gonna do burpees, and like he was like, we're gonna try to do 100 burpees. Like 100 burpees off rip sounds terrible.
Yeah.
And then I got through my first 50 and I was like, we could do this. I was like, I can definitely do this. You know what I mean? And it's just like understanding, like, especially where I used to be. Like where I used to be senior year, 310 pounds, like just big as shit, couldn't run, couldn't do a push-up to save my fucking life. And to be here now where I'm at, it's like, to see that growth, it's always like a good, like, all right, bro, you're doing something right.
Yeah, it's monumental.
Yeah, you know
To
what I
be
mean?
310 pounds and where you're at now is like,
It's insane.
yeah, that's nothing to laugh at.
Yeah. And so for me, it's like something that I obviously like carry around, like, you know, hold my head high for it and stuff like that. But just like building just like little habits to like kind of like help out. And then rather than seeing something as like, fuck, I really don't want to do this, be like, all right, I'm going to take this challenge on. You know what I mean? So that's kind of been like my headspace where I'm at with like building and dropping bad habits.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good place to be.
Trying, bro.
Yeah, nothing to it but to do it.
Facts.
Steven, did you want to go next, or do you want me to?
What are we doing here?
You want to do your prison tamales?
Oh yeah, I have to tell you. I have to tell everybody.
Yeah, what is this?
Unpopular opinion, hot
no
take.
way. Prison tamales are 1,000 times better than tamales out here on the street.
What?
They just
Bro, he told me this and I was like, no, you're tripping,
they
bro.
are, bro.
So go ahead and walk us through what a prison tamale is.
Well, it's prison tamale is basically like a real tamale, except you get to choose what flavor you want.
Bro, listen to
Your
this
masa.
shit.
You really do. You get to, let's say you want your masa. Out here, you buy your regular masa at your little Mexican store, and it's like, at least when you make your prison tamale, you get to choose the flavor of your masa. You can get nacho cheese.
But what is it though?
What it's a bag of chips, tortilla chips. So that's all masa is, and you crush it up and you add water and you make the masa. And you can flavor it by whatever chips you want to get.
So he's like, if you want Cool Ranch, if you want sweet Asian chili,
Yeah, bro.
like,
I'm telling you, I'm Mexican, so I grew up every Christmas. You're blasted with tamales at your mom's, your aunt's house, your grandma's house,
grandmas, yeah.
you know. So I've had every type of tamale that there is.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to prison, then they turned me on to what a prison tamale
You were
is,
like, yo, this shit is it.
and it blows it out the water.
There's
One day I'll make you guys one.
What's
bro.
the meat in it?
It's whatever you want it to be.
What type of meat can you get in prison?
You can get like shredded beef. You can get sausage. You can get barbacoa. You can get all that stuff.
Dang, so normal.
Normal meats.
Yeah.
I just think
I wouldn't say barbacoa is a normal meat, really. It's not like a common one, but yeah.
Right.
I
Well, you go to
just-
Chipotle, you can get it.
Yeah, I just think it's hilarious the way he explained it. He was like, you can get your different flavors. I was like, what do you mean by that? He goes, you grab your bag of Doritos.
Yeah, no, I was so
Yeah,
confused
bro.
whenever he goes, your different flavor. I said, I never.
Yeah. You can go to the store. Like you can go to the store, right, and you just go to the chip aisle and be like, you know what? I feel like whatever type of masa today, whether it be
You know what happens if I do that? I have somebody like Brendan look at me and smack me upside the head and say, you're not making anything good.
Really?
Yeah. Brendan judges. Okay, so a little bit of backstory. My family is super Mormon on my mom's side.
Okay.
They're the whitest can be.
Right.
But we make, for Christmas, we make Mexican food.
Right.
And it's all like really good.
Yeah, okay.
And I dated a Latina for 3 years. So like I know both sides.
Right.
And like we have they have like people from the church who also come in who are Latina and Latino.
Right.
And they like also help cook some things. And so they've learned from them. And so it's like all really good. But every time I bring it up to Brendan, he's like, there's no way that these white people make good Mexican food. So you saying that
Just because.
and so whenever you're like, oh yeah, we just grab a bag of like Doritos, and then like if I was to say that to Brendan, he'd be like, you're a psychopath.
I'd be
He
like,
shoot you down. Yeah,
I'd be like, yo, that's the whitest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Exactly. But you come in here and say it, and he's like, round of applause.
Yeah, no, I thought that shit was so, because we were talking about it today. He was like, so like, how do you like do your podcast? So we're like, I'm like, all right, bro. So we check in, yada, yada. He was like, what's that? So I was like, well, what do you want to talk about? Like just randomly, like it could be anything funny, anything like that. He goes, well, what about when I told you like prison tamales are better? And I was like, that's gonna be a great clip. I was like, that's
No,
exactly
they
what
are
I'm
hands
doing.
down because I feel like there's no
Yeah, I
better
need to
judge
try
than an
these.
actual Mexican who grew up in the culture of tamales.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know
I'd
if you've
love to try
seen the videos where like they'll make like breads or like even with the ramen where they'll like put it in the bag and like
Yeah,
smash
yeah,
it
yeah.
down and let it like cook and then that's almost like a bread or like a tortilla
yeah.
flap.
I've had some of the best meals, that homemade meals in prison. Like I've had better menudo in prison.
That's
out
crazy,
here on
bro.
the streets.
There's a Mexican out here who's watching this who
No,
is
no,
so
no doubt,
impressed.
no doubt. Because Mexican prison is filled with nothing but Mexicans.
Yeah.
And they're very innovative people. So when you're like, it's the truth. So when you're like, your back's against the wall and you're like, hey, I got to make the best of a bad situation, you'll be amazed at what some of the like stuff that comes out.
You
of
brought
that.
something up that I wanted to ask a question about. You brought up Chipotle.
Right.
What's your take on Chipotle?
I like Chipotle.
You like Chipotle?
I like Chipotle because it's healthy.
What do you get from Chipotle?
What did we get the last time?
Oh, he got a bowl. He
I got
Okay.
a bowl, right?
Yeah, white rice. Like
I try to stay away from rice, but because we went, I got rice and
Why do you try to stay away from rice?
I try to stay away from all pastas.
like all carbs and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Is rice pasta?
Well, rice
What
is
is-
like a grain.
it's
It's,
a
like
carb.
It's a good
in the
carb,
group.
but I try to stay away from all carb. Very low carb diet.
Okay.
He's a
Wait,
bit- he's a
but
bit-
don't tortillas have carbs?
I don't eat carb. I don't eat tortillas.
Okay, well, because the bowl comes with it. That's why I asked.
No, I don't eat
yeah,
ever
no,
tortillas.
yeah, he just took the bowl.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he's a big like. When he saw me eat corn nuts and was drinking soda when I first started working there, he's like, "You need to cut that shit out."
But that's only because he tells me what his aspirations are.
Yeah.
You know? So he's like, I want my aspirations to this, my dreams are this, my desires are this. And I'm like, well, then what are you doing eating this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why are you eating garbage?
Yeah, and it made me feel good when I told him I was like, "Yo, I could look like a unit." He was like, "You could be a monster, bro," and I was like, "That's exactly what I wanted
Right.
to
Like,
hear."
what's his name? Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
He said I look like Jason Momoa, and I was like, "That's the biggest compliment anyone's ever given me." I was like,
There's
"We
the
can't do
YouTube
this
title.
right now."
Yeah. Very, very, there's resemblance.
There's no way.
All right.
I just need to grow
man.
my hair out, maybe start throwing axes at people.
Get a couple tattoos.
Yeah,
Like,
just get blasted.
well, you already have tattoos, but
I only have one sleeve.
yeah.
It doesn't really count.
Anyway.
What about you, my boy?
So, I got the new soundboard. Yeah. I got this new mixer yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you guys a first world problem of a little small story that's going to sound so bitchy. But I get this board, and I've been waiting for this thing for months. Been super excited because I love tech. I love audio stuff. It's kind of like my bread and butter. It's my shit. And there's a lot of cool stuff that I can do with this board that wasn't possible on my last one. And that really opens the doors for a lot of things and special like videos and stuff that I want to make, and even stuff here on the podcast that I want to do. So I get the board, I finally open it up, I plug it all in and everything, pop in my headphones and stuff, and the left headphone doesn't work. I have no audio. And then I'm like, okay. So I pop it into jack 2, because for a second I thought it was just my headphones. Yeah. Jack 2, perfect audio. I hear both ears, it's fine. And so I was like, what the fuck? So I pop it back into headphone 1, same problem. Like it is just the amp on headphone 1 is blown out.
That's fucked.
Yeah, which is not good. Second issue is some of the functionality of this board is only applicable to headphone jack 1. So some of the tools that I need, I can only utilize when I'm plugged into that one.
Is there any way to fix that, like blown amp, quote unquote?
Yes, it is what I'm doing, which is sending it back. So
sense.
I sent an email, and I was so mad. I was like so sad and mad. Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? And I spent an hour trying to figure out if like it was something else that was wrong, if there was anything that I could fix. I reset it again. I reinstalled the updates and everything. Just not working. Yeah, it's just a hardware failure, which happens. You know, RMAs happen all the time in the tech industry. But, oh, dude, it was so fucked because I was supposed to start stream, and then 2 hours passed by because I can't stop hearing myself through the board because I can't mute myself through my headphones without being in that amp 1 unless I go through all these channels to remove me from my mixes. And so I'm like, okay, I got that sorted. I don't hear myself anymore when I talk. And then I start playing with Soko, and then Soko's like, I can hear everything you're doing. It's all bleeding through Discord.
That's fucked.
So my audio was transferring through Discord, which is like what we used to talk.
Right.
So not only was he hearing me, he was hearing my game. And so I have to
And
spend
playing
another 30 minutes.
And playing the game you guys play, that is one of the most annoying things that you could
What
possibly.
game is it?
It's,
Escape from Tarkov.
It's
like
a milsim shooter.
It's like a
type
survival game. So like you literally like build your guns, you put the barrels in them, you put the like a suppressor stock, like you build like to build for accuracy and like
Everything I know about guns, I know pretty much from this game.
Oh, wow.
And my friend who loves guns and is super into them says it's like real good to being like close on accuracy. So
yeah, like if you end up putting like a butt stock where it's just like it looks like a long dildo like on the back of an AR, your accuracy 9 times out of 10 is gonna be shit. But you're gonna be more mobile with the gun.
Ergo goes up, but your recoil goes down. And then like you have to have like buffer tubes, and you then like if you need a buffer tube for your butt or like a butt stock and everything, and then you
like it gets everything in detail. It's crazy.
Gas tubes, all of it. But anyway, so I spent 30 minutes trying to figure out why he could hear me. Like everything that I was doing, finally figured it out, and it was all scuffed. It was all real not fun.
That's fucked.
But so I called them today, and because they gave me an email back, and they said, hey, it'll take like 24 to 48 hours for us to reach back to you email-wise, or just call this number, and they'll deal with it immediately. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm calling. Get out of work, call them on my way home, and he's like, yeah, so what's the problem? And I go, the audio driver doesn't work, and so one of the amps is fried. And then he's like, you sound like you know what you're talking about more than I do. And he said, we'll send you a new one. And
as soon as he heard amp driver, shorted, and all that shit, he was like, he definitely knows what he's doing,
yeah,
bro.
I could tell that like he had a book in front of him, and he had to just kind of like scroll all the way to the bottom and be like, all right, man.
His mind was buffering real quick, trying to realize what you said.
Yeah, because he was like, did you try to reset? I was like, yeah, I already tried resetting it. I was like, it's definitely an amp issue. I tried it on the other headphone inputs, like nothing works. And so he was like, yeah, it definitely seems like you, this was your last resort. He's like, we'll overnight ship you a new one, and you just send it back. We'll send you a FedEx label with the new one.
Oh, that's fire.
And I was like,
overnight it?
Yeah, I was like, what? Well, I paid priority shipping for this too. So I was like, but it's awesome because I get to hold on to this until I get the new one also. Right. So I don't have to be like
And you can still play with it and kind of fuck
Learn
around with
everything
it
and
as,
reset up.
Yeah, as
Right.
you're waiting for it.
So that's
fire.
cool. Anyway, my small little bitch session about something that's so minute, and we're about to get in this man's life. Wild.
Hell yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm glad you figured it out, though. I'm glad you situated it.
Yeah, it was cool. I'm excited to show you all the cool stuff this thing can do.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you,
excited
man.
to see it. It's cool because like kind of like how I told you, like when it comes to like making music or like even just like recording little bits. So like even on stream, like if you wanted to go through like one of our episodes and we had like a funny moment where like I said something stupid or he said something stupid, he could record it and then it like attach it to one of these buttons. So now whenever he's playing with somebody like on Discord on a call and he hits that button, it'll play that recording.
And now I can do that live.
Oh, swear.
In the middle of this recording, if you said something funny, I could just immediately hit record and like take that clip.
That's how some people
edit it down.
That's how some clips have gone viral because like someone will be like, "Oh, you're a fucking bitch," like in the mic in like a shooter game or something like that, and they'll record that and they just keep playing it, and he's like, "Bro, he has my voice," like, "Oh, this and that," and people start freaking out,
Yeah.
like, "Shut the fuck up," like, blah, blah. It's so funny because there's a dude who has a really annoying laugh. His name's Timmy Toucans. And he literally has his laugh recorded, and he was just crawling up on people on Call of Duty because there's proximity chat, so you can hear your enemies. And he was just kept playing his laugh and kept playing his laugh to the point where he forced somebody to quit out of the game.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and that was the clip. So it went viral.
Right.
So it's just little shit like that.
Imagine having such an annoying laugh you made people log off.
Yeah, I
No,
know, right?
literally.
Their life must be rough.
But yeah, I mean, shit. Let's get into it, my guy.
Let's do
yeah,
it.
yeah. Let's dive in.
I guess we could start kind of like how we said, like with your childhood, and kind of like, you know, you coming up the way you came up, and you know, how would you explain like, I guess like your first interaction with like the law and kind of like the life that you went down.
Well, I mean, just a quick backdrop for people who don't know. I spent a total of 18 years in prison. So, and I met Brendan at work, and we just got to talking, and you know, here we are now. My childhood was, I don't want to give the cliche statement, I grew up in a hard neighborhood. You know, that's what a rough neighborhood. That's what a lot of people do. I'm not going to do that. I grew up in a very broken home, and in a very bad neighborhood. And at this time, like, you know, in the 90s, you know, it's like,
NWA,
yeah,
like all
you know,
that.
so like that's kind of like the thing, Eazy-E, Tupac, and you know,
gangster rap, that
whole
influence.
environment and stuff like that. And so I grew up in a home like that, a very broken home. So it's like domestic violence was like normal,
Yeah.
you know. And to this day, I still struggle with thinking like, I think for some it's you know, it's stereotypical that every Hispanic home is like filled with domestic violence because that was normal, you know, and I'm just learning that that's not normal. But to me at that time, it's like, if you're Mexican, I just assumed you grew up in a home like that, you know? And so, you know, that's how I grew up. My dad, I love my dad. I'm never going to badmouth my dad. But my dad was the meanest man I've ever known. I was a very, very mean man. And I look at the relationship that you have with you and your dad, and it's like no wonder you're at where you're at in life, is because it's like you have a pops, you know, and it's, you don't realize it when you're growing up, but a boy needs his dad.
Yeah.
You know, if not, that boy's going to gravitate towards, you know, people who will fill that role to the best of their
Some
knowledge.
type of father
A
figure.
pseudo
Right.
father
You know,
figure.
whether
Yeah.
it be good or bad. And, you know, a lot of that is contingent upon the environment that you grow up in. So I got in my first real trouble when I was 9. You know, me and my friend and I, we chased some kids home after school. I didn't think it was a big deal, but I went outside and there was cops everywhere. And, you know, it turned out to be a pretty big deal, you know, but I was young, bro. I was
Yeah.
9 years old, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
You don't know better.
yeah, that's the age I started smoking weed, when I was 9. So
Dang.
that's about the time when my mom actually grew the courage to leave my dad. So, you know, all that went down. And so my mom had to work 2 jobs because she's raising 3 boys in this broke down neighborhood. You know, we lived in a 2-bedroom house. It was literally the smallest house in my neighborhood. And at that time, there was 8 of us in this house. And, you know, God bless her heart, man. She did the best that she could. I was the youngest, you know, of everybody. So I always got the brunt end of the stick, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My brother lost.
The hand-me-downs,
Yeah,
all that.
My brother lost a Nintendo game. Who'd he beat up? Me, because you know I'm the baby. I'm the youngest. It was my fault he lost his game. You know?
Yeah.
But we're kids, you know. But I don't think they realized the animal that they were creating, you know, by inflicting me and you know calling me fat and you know and being mean and things of that nature. And so my mom worked 2 jobs, and so I had the free reign of the streets. You know, my mom went to work. She got off at 2. She turned around. She walked right to the other job, and she worked. She didn't get off till 11.
It's kind of a latchkey kid.
Right. So from literally after school, from the days that I did go, all the way to 11 o'clock at night, there was nobody watching me.
Yeah, fend for yourself.
Right. You know what I mean? Literally, nobody's watching me. I have the
Mm-hmm.
whole free reign. So I'm, you know, 9, 10, 11 years old. I'm just running the streets, doing whatever I wanted. And, you know, and that's not always the way to go. But at the time, it seems like the way to go.
And did you have any influence, like trying to help you out at all, or like?
I try to
just
look.
nothing?
I look back now that I'm older, right, and you know all the years I spent in prison. I try to look back, kind of like at key moments, to see if anybody like ever really intervened.
And like saw the path that you were kind
Right,
of going
but
down.
I can't find anybody. I can't. Maybe my mind's tuned it out, but I can't find any key moment where somebody has come up to me and has told me, "Hey, well, like, you know, like you're on a path to destruction."
Like you can do something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Who? I'm trying to think who, but it's my brothers. I think that they were too young to even understand, or, you know, and God bless them. Like I never understood how they never went down the same path that I went down. Like we grew up in the same home, in the same neighborhood, and you know, a couple of my brothers tasted it, but they never went like head in, you know.
So are you the only one in your family who went to prison?
Right, I am. Right. My brother went to the military. One of my brothers went to the military. And, you know, I don't know if that was his saving grace. Because although he wasn't criminal. You know, he would like to party, but he wasn't like hardcore.
Yeah.
You know?
He wasn't like committing no
Right.
serious
And
crimes.
it's like, I don't know. You know, I look back and I'm like, well, it couldn't be my environment because my brothers grew up the same way, but they turned out fairly decent.
do you,
you know?
do you think it had something to do with like, kind of like how you said, like them always like you were basically the punching bag, and so like kind of like that animal that it created?
This is kind of what I've come up with, right? This is what I think. Acceptance is very potent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've seen it with grown men in prison. The lengths that grown men in prison will go to for the sake of acceptance can be lethal at times. I don't think a boy, a teenager, or a man ever really shakes the desire to be accepted.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Especially with not having a father figure.
Right.
You're always
So
looking
it's
for
like-
someone to like tell you that like
right. To validate
Yeah.
that, you know, that you're doing the right thing, you know, that they're proud of you, right? So, but it seemed like the more bad that I did in my neighborhood, the more praise that I got. And
At least the more attention in
Right.
some regard.
And so it felt good.
Mm-hmm.
I felt welcomed. I felt accepted.
Did you feel more welcomed, or did you kind of see it as like a power thing? Like at
Well,
what?
the power came later. Like the whole, hey, this is working type ordeal came later. But it was like every bad thing that I did, or it was like celebrated as something good. You know, so you begin to think that bad is good and good is bad.
Yeah.
You know, but it was all for the sake of acceptance. You know, and I can't sit here and tell you at that age my brothers accepted me, or, you know, whatever male figure in my life was had accepted me, you know, they were mean.
What is your relationship like now with your family?
My immediate family, my relationship is great.
Good.
I don't talk to the rest of my family, such as like my cousins, my
Extended
aunt.
family.
Right.
Yeah.
I talk to my dad very vague, but there is dialogue there. But my immediate family, my mother, my brothers, it's great.
Good. That's good
Yeah.
to hear.
Did you ever think about like following your brother's footsteps in the military and just trying to
No,
get out
by
of
the
it?
time he went to the military, I was already in prison.
Oh, I swear.
Yeah, so I kind of like surpassed my brother.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So, like, you said 9, you got into your first like kind of
Scuffle.
scuffle with the
Right.
law, and then from after there, I know you said like you didn't really go to high school. Like, where's that like teenage period?
Right.
Like, how's that look?
So from 14, when I was 14, is when I caught my first like real case and got put on probation, and so I was just
For listeners who might not fully know what is being on probation mean. Like, what does it entail?
It means you have somebody from the county who's assigned over you to kind of govern you, check in with you, whatever they deem appropriate, whether it be once a month or every couple of weeks. And it's somebody you check in with you to make sure that you're doing well.
Staying on track.
Yeah, you're staying on track. There's progress, there's growth, and things of that nature. So I was 14 when I first had somebody kind of assigned to me to kind of look over me. And 16, I believe 16 when I actually hit juvie. That was a situation in itself. And I did some juvie time. I got out, and
About how old were you when you got out of juvie?
I was 16 when I went in, and I went in when I got out when I was 16. Got in trouble again when I was 17. Got out then. At that time, I didn't know it, but they put a hold on me to kind of wait until they didn't want to charge me with anything when I was a juvenile. They kind of wanted to wait till I turned 18.
To hit you with the adult.
Right. So they kind of kept tabs on me from that point to that point until I turned 18 so they can come at me and treat me as an adult.
For non-U.S. listeners, because we have a couple, what is juvie?
Juvenile hall is a place where they send criminal kids who are under the age of 18. So you break the law, they're not going to send you to an adult jail, obviously, because you're not 18, depending upon the nature of the crime.
Is there, this is a question for me, is there a minimum age, like from this youngest point to 18 that you can go to juvie, or is it like...
When I was there, but this was years ago, there was a kid in there who was 9.
Okay.
So it
depends on how bad you're doing.
Right. It kind of just depends on like the nature of the crime and what you do. Even if you're a juvenile and you commit a crime that they consider to be an adult offense, they'll still keep you housed with juveniles until you turn 18, and then transfer you to the adult institution. And
do you ever get like a resentence when you get transferred over to an adult prison? Like, do they try and resentence you, or like if you're doing a certain amount of time when you're 17 in juvie, does that sentence just carry on in the prison?
Well, it depends upon the nature of the crime. So it's like if you're charged an adult at the age of 16, you're going to go to trial. They're going to convict you. You'll stay in a juvenile facility until you're 18. From the day of your 18th birthday at midnight, they'll transfer you to an adult prison.
Damn.
But they don't revisit the sentence and say, hey.
Not a very cool wake-up call.
I was about to say, yeah, bro. Imagine becoming of age and they're like, all right, time to go to a big boy prison. Happy birthday.
I've met quite a few younger individuals who've kind of graduated and moved. They brought them overnight.
That's a word for it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, because I'm sure in juvenile halls it's more, more childish, and they come in the adult prison. Yeah. And
so when you're in juvie, educational wise, like, do you get anything? Do you have like a quote unquote school like
they made
system?
You go to school. I remember my first day. So I'm there, whatever. They take me to the intake, and my first day at actual school. I'm getting situated. And I get in a fight.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's just like
off rip.
Yeah, it's just kind of like off rip. Do
you remember why?
Oh man, it had to do with there was a friend of mine there, and we were talking, and this other kid, I remember we were at the desk. This other kid said something to my friend, and my friend didn't say anything. And I was like, well, what part of the game is this?
Yeah.
So I was like,
he said, we're not letting that slide.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, don't be. I didn't know any better. This time I look back at it, it's kind of like his problem, his business. you know what I'm saying?
He should have handled that.
Yeah, but not at that age. I'm like, at that age, you're like, oh, this is my friend. It's my brother, whatever.
I'm gonna protect mine.
Yeah. So so I said something, and before the kid can even say something back, I fired off on him. And there we are fighting in school. And so I did a little bit of whole time for that. And just childish stuff. But they would take you to school and you sit at the computer. I remember that I was sitting at the computer and there was a cool teacher there. And I was like, hey, let me use your cell phone. He's like, all right, cool. Who do you want me to call? And I was like, call my girl. So he's like, all right, cool. So he calls my girl right there in the middle of class.
What?
Yeah. So yeah, it was crazy.
That's kind of fire.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Right? That's what I thought so.
So I think that there's also societally and like publicly a very weird stigma about like what prisons and juvie look like, mostly due to like movies and like pop culture and stuff. And so there's like usually this generic view of like it's all gray walls and gray books and orange jumpsuits and that's it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of got it right.
Movies and stuff, they're very theatrical.
Yeah.
It's not like the movies.
I'd hope not.
No, it's not like the movies whatsoever. Very theatrical. I don't know what all I can say and can't say, but it's not like the movies at all.
Yeah.
No.
And so I think the next thing that I would like, one of the biggest things I want to focus on is kind of like your mindset, emotionally and physically, like going through juvie into adulthood, into going into prison. Like, what's your mindset through all of this? Like, what are you thinking in your head? Like, are you just like, yo, I'm the biggest, baddest motherfucker out here. Like, no one's gonna stop me type shit? Or like, what is
no,
like?
of course not. You're humbled. You're still human at the end of the day, and you're scared. I went to prison when I was 19. I had just turned 19. I was a kid. You're what, 21?
Yeah.
I was,
2 years younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a baby.
Yeah.
So of course you're humbled and you're scared and, so you don't walk in there thinking, oh yeah, I'm big, I'm bad, because you know that you're not.
Yeah.
You're now with bona fide, the real deal. You're with Arizona's worst, or whatever state you're in's worst. And I think that attitude begins to develop later on down the road when you start realizing that, hey, I can do this. Not only can I do this, but I can conquer this.
Mm-hmm.
Like they threw me to the wolves and now I can come out of this leading the pack.
Wow.
And so I think that's when ego begins to set in, as time goes on. But do you start off that way? No. I always felt, I always educated myself. When I did my time, I think I went through about my 6 months of like depression, like, damn,
Like, what am I going to do with my life type shit?
Yeah, like you think your life is over, but I had like a talk with myself, like, okay, do this time, don't let the time do you. And I threw away all my junk food, and that's when I started doing push-ups. I started working out. I already felt at a disadvantage because I went to high school for about 2 weeks. So I started reading, just educating myself, and so I've become a well-read person, and be able to hold a conversation on whatever topic it may be. Just started investing a lot of time in myself. Not how I can better myself, but, how can I step out of here better?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's where a lot of people kind of mess up or like slip, is that they don't go in or they don't find that moment of how do I come out of this on the other side being better or being happier?
I think
Yeah, like for you, did you have anybody take you under your wing and be like, "Hey, bro, like you're a youngin', bro. Like you could, like you still got time."
Put down those corn nuts and sodas.
No, did I have anybody? No. I think where people slip is they bite into the dream. I think that's where people slip, and what I mean by that is you go to prison and they sell you a dream, and you bite into that dream. But you realize that dream is a nightmare later on down the road.
The dream being just prison life in general.
Right.
And what you could accomplish, quote unquote.
Right. And so you really, really think that because you're now at a university. It'd be equivalent to being out here, graduating from a high school and now going to like Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you're now at the University of Criminals. And so they sell you a dream. They basically tear you down and then build you back up to their liking, all the while indoctrinating you with their views, their values.
Hey, we say it all the time on this podcast. You know what that is, baby girl? That's cult mentality.
Yeah, no, real life, 110%. And I think the biggest thing with that is like, because I've asked you, like, do you believe that prison actually reforms people?
No.
Yeah, and so, which is why I wanted to ask you, like, when it comes to reforming you as a person, obviously, like you said, like, it's always on the person. Like, you're being punished for the shit that you did. You're never like, oh, they're never taking you like, all right, we're gonna try and make you a better person. It's like, no, you're being punished for this.
No,
and it's whether it's on you whether or not you're gonna come out of this.
They can attach reform and reentry to the end of their title, which they do. Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry. However, prison is a continuation of the punishment. So the prison sentence itself should be the punishment. Mm-hmm. Wherever they send you, there should be an investment made into you. Okay, this is a human life. We still value human life. How can we bring out the best? Or like, how can we recognize what is good in this person?
Yeah, like let's recognize the root of their problem, their trauma. Right. Let's try and reverse it.
Because not every person is 100% solely bad. They do bad things, but in lies them still some good.
I'm going to ask you a question that you might tell me to cut out. Do you think that the reason the system works like that is due to the fact that they want the system to keep working? They want people to keep having to come back to the system because it makes them money.
Well, they manage to turn prison into a business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so it's $5 a phone call.
Yeah, it's all write-offs for people. Like the people who own that shit, the more people you get in prison, the more money they make.
So do you think that's why they don't want people to want to leave?
Do I really think that there's that big of a conspiracy behind it? No. Do I think they turn a blind eye as far as what it takes to reach a human being?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It takes investment. I always tell him, two of the greatest investments you can make in life is in yourself and into another human being. But in order for me to reach you, I have to meet you where you're at, pour myself out 100% solely into you to not leave you where you're at. You're not going to get that in a penitentiary. No. Instead, they put a restraint on everything. They've put a money tag on everything. $5 a phone call, which is contracted out to Securus. Commissary is, $5 a bag of chips, what they contracted out to Keefe. There is now a $25 fee background check, a $25 fee to do a background check to become approved to visit.
How do you make money in prison? This is a really dumb question from me, but a genuine question.
Well, okay, so how do you make money besides people putting money on your books?
You get a job. It depends on what level yard you're on. You can get a job that makes you...
So to explain it for you, because like I was having this conversation with him about... Because my dad used to work DOC. So my dad was on the opposite side of the cell, basically running the inmates. And he was on level 4 and level 5. And for people who are aware of, the prison systems out here in Arizona, they actually turned the prison that's out in Buckeye into a protective custody prison only due to an officer leaking camera videos of like the cells. You know how an electronic cell is supposed to close and then you hear it lock. Yeah. Those cells on level 4 and level 5s are your most dangerous, biggest murderers.
This is the question that I had also.
Yeah. So your level 4 and level 5 are like your biggest, baddest motherfuckers. Yeah, you know what I mean? And their cells were not working. They could open them at any time.
That's wild.
And and patrolling those levels, you only had 2 DOC officers for every 20, 25 inmates.
They've heard of on the news that these COs getting beat up. I think an inmate was even, according to the news, I wasn't there, killed in his cell. So,
yeah, like anytime they wanted to, hit on a cell or something like that, like they were able to get into your cell whether you knew it or not.
Okay, so 4 5s are worse than, I assume, 3s, 2s, and 1s. It gets like less and less so.
Yeah, so like your level, I don't think they have a 1 yard. They might have one out there in Phoenix. So you have your level 2s, your level 3s, your level 4s, your level 5s. 3 being like a medium, it's kind of like...
Would you say like robbery or something like that?
You kind of have like from that point, you got like people who've kind of worked their way down from like a level 4
to good behavior type thing.
You know what I'm saying? It's not... You still have your action that kicks up, but it's nothing going to be like a level 4 or level 5 yard. No, I mean, it depends on where you're at, where you land at in the state. Some are more action-packed than others, 3 yards.
And so depending on which yard you're in is or level you're in is what jobs you have access to.
Right. So if you're like a level 4, you got to apply for a job, whereas like you're a level 3, they give you a job mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
So depending upon your education, you can make up like to 10 cents an hour to like 35, 25 cents an hour.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Basically slavery.
That's not good.
Well, and that's even like
that's how like my grandma paid for her house.
Yeah, well that's even like I don't know if you've seen it, but they have like they have forced prison inmates to stay in prison to go fight fires. So they'll kind of like so like they'll say it's community service, but they'll build firefighters out of inmates,
right,
and
so
if they die, they're inmates. No one's gonna care.
That's like your level 2.
They suicide squad firefighters?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's like your level 2.
And that's why
like
it's been a huge thing, bro. Like people are outraged by it.
Yeah, that's
What?
like you're like your level 2 like minimum inmates who get like a CC clearance, which is a clearance to go work outside the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you'll get that on like your level 2s and stuff like that, but like your level 4s and your level 5 yards, they're pretty much kind of ignored, because it's just so wild. But it's not really wild. It's controlled. But like when it's not,
It's wild.
yeah, it can be very wild.
What were some of your biggest influences to kind of make you, I don't want to say prosper, but like keep pushing forward throughout your time?
I would like to say family, man. I mean, that's a very, again, cliche way, very cliche answer, but my family bailed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it was just the length of time that I was doing. It was kind of like out of sight, out of mind, or he's never going to change, or he's never going to develop, or things of that nature. I don't know if that was the mindset. I can't speak for them, but yeah, they all pretty much bailed, man. My mom stayed true through and through. Every time I called, she answered. What made me want to keep going is, what was the alternative? It's not like you're just going to shrivel up and die because you want to. It's not the way it works,
And you never had a thought of like, I know, obviously you see some inmates, end up hanging
Step
themselves.
away.
And
no, that was never an option. I guess honestly because my fear of hell,
And that's another thing I wanted to ask you about is I know you're a very big religious person, man of God, and how at what point did that start for you and helping you through like kind of like your experience through prison and stuff like that? Like when did you start, I guess, giving yourself to like faith and stuff like that?
Let's see, I went to prison in 2003. Along about 2014, I just got tired. I had escaped from the county jail, and they put me in a double door cell. You guys don't understand what that is, but you're basically behind 2 doors. So you have your cell door here, which is you're locked in here, and then this door will slide open, and you come out.
And about how big are your double?
It's like an airlock.
Yeah, and so you come out for an hour a day to use the phone, but there's another door.
Yeah.
So you're basically, out of 23 hours a day, you're behind 2 doors.
You are in an airlock. Oh my God.
Right. So
Yeah, like you are literally like a rat in a trap.
it was
shit.
like being buried alive. No TV. They would pass you out 2 new books once a month. You had to stand at this door so they can see you to the other door just at the right time in order to flag them down and let them know you wanted to shower. If you didn't catch them at the right time, you didn't shower. So I stayed like that
crazy.
I stayed like that for 13 months, and I fought it. Trying to muster up all
Wait, you stayed in that for 13 months?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he told me that, and I was like, bro.
I'll tell you what, man was never created to be alone. I don't care how hard you are,
Amen.
how tough you
Jesus.
are. I know what absolute isolation is.
It's one of the things that I super preach. That's why I say it.
I know what absolute isolation is. And without love and relationship and communication, a man will shrivel up and die. That's a fact. It's guaranteed. I know. I lived it. I tried to fight it for, 13 straight months. And I couldn't. The fact that there was no love, no relationship, no dialogue, no degree of intimacy with anybody.
It's just you in your head.
Out of all the things that I that I went through, that's what broke me.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of people in those situations, like you've heard, you hear stories about like, that's when people lose it. That's when people
Or, like,
snap
people
and
going in
something
the hole.
shifts.
Right.
Yeah, like people who go in the hole and they don't see sunlight for, 60 days, 30 days
Right.
type thing. And they're like, yeah, that's what, like, when I came out of that, like, I didn't know who I was.
Yeah, it broke me, and I just,
Is that when you kind of turn to, like, believing in God?
yeah, but I never really believed in God. I read the Bible actually because they give you $2 a month, and I ran right through them. There was no other book for me to read,
Yeah.
The
And then
Bible's definitely a slow
It
read.
was just there,
Yeah.
And
So is that like something that is, you get your $2 and then is the Bible always there?
Yes.
It's like a mandatory thing
yeah,
they
it's just
have
in
there,
there,
right?
And so, it was the cover of the Bible was a picture of hands breaking free from handcuffs.
Wow, that's wild.
And it
Yeah,
said-
that's
it
crazy
said-
to me.
It said free on the inside. I've never been a God-fearing man, ever. I can't sit here and tell you that I believed in God, because I didn't, But I just started reading the Bible. No lie. And it's like the lights came on. Literally.
Light bulb.
No lie.
What is it?
But the turning point, how can I take credit for where my life is at? I can't. Because since the age of 8, 9 years old, I've been fighting to get myself out of this pit. I've sat down with psychiatrists and counselors at juvenile facilities and adult facilities, and all of their education, all of their degrees couldn't transform or change anything about me. Well, I started just pounding the Bible.
It's almost like that's the father figure you needed was.
And it was like,
It was like you could actually, were able to open your eyes and, like, see it.
bro, I came alive.
Yeah.
There's no other way to describe it. And not only that, then I find myself, my life takes this completely different turn, right? Where my language turns different, my desires start to change, my way of thinking starts to change. And I find myself now preaching, the Bible to all these hardcore criminals who once knew me to be this, and they're trying to understand why I'm this now.
And
Not only
you're
that,
trying to show them.
but somebody pays for me to go to Bible college while I'm in prison. So now I have a degree in pastoral ministry. Like, my life didn't change or take any different direction until I actually began to take that serious. I wish I could take the credit. I wish that I can tell you that, hey, I don't cuss because I choose not to cuss. No, it just disappeared. Or my desire to sleep with this woman or that woman, this woman is all me, because it just disappeared. My desires to not want to break the law or earn money or do this or that. I wish I can tell you that it's me who made that change, but I can't. It just disappeared. How do you explain that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Really?
That's fucking wild.
How do you explain that? How do
Well,
you explain from going? I once attempted to take a life, right? And so
Yeah.
which is why I went to prison. But now I preach life. How do you explain that?
I think that's a very big question that I'm not sure we have time to break down.
Right.
Yeah, well,
I
because you gotta realize. So me and him both are very, like,
I
agnostic
have
people.
really bad trauma when it comes to religion.
Yeah,
Right.
and so, like, obviously, like, experiences, like, the experience you had is what I like to tell people, like, you found God in faith on your own terms.
Right, but I didn't find God. You see, he was never lost.
Well,
He found
well,
me.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
and that's what most people say is that, like, you make that decision, you take that leap of faith, and he finds you in the least, like, moment that you think it's gonna happen.
I think that he can't intervene until you're absolutely broken, until you come to an absolute end of yourself. really. I think that's what he is waiting for. Because people, unfortunately, people contaminate the goodness of it all. People give other people a bad experience about who this God really is, who this Jesus really is. And it therefore turns people away. But there's something about being by yourself where you tune out. There's nobody to influence you. There's no one to contaminate you.
And that's what I was just about to say, is because like you got, like, for us going to church, we're having somebody else tell us their opinion on what they perceive through the Bible.
I don't believe, honestly,
and
wholeheartedly, that's the way that it was intended to be.
Yeah, because you read the Bible through and through, probably however many times you read it, and you really understood it for yourself, and was like,
book to read.
Yeah, and you were probably like, this is what I'm taking from this, and this is how I'm going to interpret it.
Honestly, I didn't even open it to read it to like gain anything. I opened it
was just a pastime.
I was absolutely bored.
Yeah.
Right. But then I began to understand it. And it's like I became alive. There's no other way to describe it. I'm not trying to make this about religion. I'm not trying to do this or that.
No,
if I'm honest, the next time we have you on, if you end up wanting to be on again, I would love to hear what you've taken away and what like your interpretation of a lot of the Bible is, because I imagine that it's so interesting. And not
very
in like
different.
and not in like a me being like rude or like, you know, discounting you at all. It's more of like when all that you have is your own interpretation, the things that you can take from it instead of somebody's outside influence. I would love to see what the comparison of like you gain this instead of what most people in church or most people in society deem as like this.
See, 2/3 of the Bible New Testament was written by Paul.
Yeah.
Where did he write this at? In prison. There is something about being alone in isolation that God can work with. When you have outside noise.
You know what he told me, bro? He said, at the age of 18, I think every man deserves at least 3 to 5 years in prison. Get your shit together.
Right. There's something. There is something. Listen, there's something about isolation, being alone in God. Now, I'm not saying there's no room for pastors and preachers and stuff like that, but I believe a wholeheartedly sincere relationship with God is not to be filtered through anybody else but you and Him. When you're alone like that and you're broken like that, it creates a degree of intimacy.
Like, I've never had somebody make me actually consider even thinking about giving it a shot until I met Steven.
Yeah,
and the way he explained it.
He came in 2 weeks ago, right before we recorded an episode. He said, Jax, you got to start believing in something. And I said, there's no shot you
but somebody
just said that to me.
Somebody has to explain how I went from that to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like,
I know that it's like, oh, Steven, you're doing so well. You're making all the right decisions. No, that you don't understand. It's not a modification in my behavior. It's literally a heart transformation where my heart now desires new things. See, my heart desired evil. My heart doesn't desire that anymore. How do you explain that? And thus, that internal transformation taking place, you now see this outwardly. It now displays itself outwardly. But you have to understand what happens outwardly is because something happened internally.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that what I want to ask, what I want to ask you is that for people who, I guess, haven't really found God or like found their faith the way that you have and are getting out or in the process, maybe like slowly getting out, or like, you know, people who are already out, who have been out for a while, who are still struggling finding things, like what's your advice for them? Or like, what's the advice of like an ex-con to another one? Or to
another
to move forward.
Yeah, or to even people who are, you know, might come across this for some reason and they're even in the streets or they're doing dumb shit and being a knucklehead.
My advice would be don't buy it into the dream. It's an absolute nightmare. I've tasted every aspect of life, every degree of life that life has to offer. I've been to the top, I've been to the bottom, and everything in between. And those who surround you will sell you an absolute dream. It's because they don't know any better. It's literally the blind leading the blind. But you'll find at the end of your life when you're alone in a prison cell that it's just you. And it will always be just you. And if you're fortunate enough, you'll have family who supports you, or a mother or a father who loves you and supports you. But even sometimes that's not enough. Don't bite into it. I know the women are there, the money are there, the drugs are there. It's all glamorous, but I've lost 18 years of my life behind all that. And literally by the grace of God, I'm alive to tell my story today. But it doesn't always end that way. You may not get that opportunity. But if I had to give any advice to any young kid running the streets or anybody entertaining that or even trying to put their foot in the water thinking that it's cool, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare.
Was there any weird shift or kind of like adjustment for your reality whenever you got out of like how much things had changed at all? Because I feel like 18 years, especially in the time you started to the time you ended, there's a lot of like rapid growth in like technology and a bunch of other stuff.
Right, yeah, it was. I'm still learning it, right?
Yeah, like there's times where
I barely learned how to cook.
Yeah, like there's times where like even today where like so yesterday I made rice, beans, and chicken thighs. And so like some of the times like he'll come in with his food and he's like we asked him like how he cooks sometimes, and he's like, yeah, just throw shit in the oven and put it all together, and then that's like my meal. And I'm like, well, you know, do you do this and do that? And he's like, no, I don't know how to do that. So that's like with little things, but it was also like the way me and Josh saw it, he has a whole new world to explore. Like for me and you, we kind of have a general consensus of like how to do like your day-to-day shit. And so for him, he's like, it's almost like learning how to walk again.
Yeah, like I have no social media. I don't even have.
Keep it that way.
I have no YouTube on my phone or anything like that. It's not. It's just it's like even when you're talking about this thing and like I watch you guys set up, it's like it blows my mind because you guys are young.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 38 years old and I'm like, my God, look at these guys are like born like geniuses. Look at them just go.
Appreciate it.
You know, like yeah, it's a whole different. It's a whole different. Even like when I got out, I wore high socks.
I still wear high socks.
You know,
no, like high socks,
yeah,
like cholo socks,
like cholo socks.
I just can't find those.
So we're walking through the mall, and my cousin's like,
bro, you got to get rid of those.
What are you doing? You know,
I can imagine you with the Dickies and the cholo socks.
So I graduated to freaking ankle socks. You know, it's like, I still can't get behind like the skinny jeans.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah, I can't. I don't understand that.
I mean, you're kind of like, you're on the jogger train, which honestly is all you need.
Yeah.
Jogger train's the wave.
Yeah, he really just rocks sweats and like championships.
Honestly, that's all that matters. Those are the best, and they're like consistently acceptable clothes.
And comfortable.
Yeah, that's all that matters, man.
Yeah.
And you know what? You might not know about that stuff, but you know what you do know? How to make tamales out of Doritos.
Yeah.
So
I'll
comes full circle.
I'm gonna have to make you guys some, bro.
Yeah, it comes full circle, man.
Yeah, that's fucking fire. But I think overall, like, I don't know if like kind of like as you were talking you realized like what I was trying to say in the beginning of this, but like your story to me is not like most, you know what I mean? Because we see a lot of people who just want to talk about like all the bullshit that they did and all like the crimes that they committed and just all that extra bullshit that they were in, rather than trying to be like, I did all this knucklehead ass shit and I came out of it and I learned like, bro, like this is not the way. Like I can be doing so much more with my life.
I feel like a lot of the accounts that I've heard, and I've never been, I shouldn't say lucky because that's not really the word, especially in your case. I imagine for you it's not lucky, but lucky enough to have somebody that I can talk to firsthand about like the prison experience and like all of this stuff.
Which is why it fascinated me so much, and which is why I try to get him on so many times and get it up, is because not only him, but there's another guy that I work with who, you know, in the same scenario, he was like, bro, like I was like just doing dumbass shit since I was a kid, and like now I'm making money and I got a family and like I'm trying to like create businesses and LLCs for my kids and shit like that, so that way I can create generational wealth. And like to hear that from a prison dude is like insane, you know what I mean? To hear that somebody has slipped around their life and put the work in that you have, and
it does sound like a lot of people like glamorize the prison
life.
prison or crime life.
That's the very
That's that dream you're talking about.
Right.
That's that. Oh, you can become this big bad dude.
Tupac is my favorite rapper. He will always be. But he happened to glamorize and romanticize that style of life, and his music raised me.
Yeah.
And,
I was gonna say that sentence alone that you just said really told me that like it was a shift whenever you came out. Like,
Yeah.
like there's some people you miss artist wise.
Yeah, and
that's
so-
crazy.
and it's a nightmare, you know.
Bro,
it's
like,
cool.
the debates we have about Tupac and Biggie, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Biggie
Smalls?
Okay,
I don't
Like
think he's
Notorious
put out.
B.I.G.?
I don't
making
think
sure.
he hasn't put out enough music to be one of the greatest.
You tell him.
Yeah, he's only one of the greatest because he's dead. But there's not enough music to back that up.
Hey, you gonna take that?
It's whatever, dude.
Nah, Tupac
fine.
is still
This is a
putting out
work debate.
records
I
to this
take
day.
it.
It's fine. I still think J. Cole's the best rapper to pick
He's
up a
dope,
mic.
bro.
He's the best
I
rapper
definitely
to
have
ever
a
pick up
playlist
a mic.
on Spotify.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro. Yeah, he's dope. All right, who you got?
Oh my god, it came full circle.
See, I told you.
It just feels like every time that I see him, it gets brought up that he's like J. Cole, best rapper to ever breathe.
Literally, double platinum, no
that's-
features.
That's Alive. He's the greatest.
Yeah.
He's one. Of
Alive or dead, but it's okay.
No.
Yeah.
Tupac had passion and fire. You
Wait,
can't-
so wait, who's your top three? Tupac?
absolutely Tupac. It would go Tupac, J. Cole, and The Game.
You know, what about you, Brendan?
J. Cole, X. And my third is tied low key between Nas or
Nas X?
no.
Or that's why I was confused. I was like, what?
No, like Nas. Like 90s rapper Nas.
Okay.
Or
Starting it or not.
or honestly Biggie. Like for me, like I just liked Biggie because he's in correlation with like J. Cole, like they like painted a picture. Like when you listen to him, you could see the shit happening.
See, I go for who is more relatable.
Yeah, I feel like with Tupac was like, especially like obviously the shit that you were doing, like you could be like, yeah, like I fuck with this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because when I felt like when he said,
Like when you heard like my ambitions as a writer, you were like, yo, this is my shit.
yeah, like you know, like I'm gonna get it into this song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
like that's my jam.
Yeah,
right
like if
there.
you go pull up to scrap somebody, you
Yeah.
know, you're bumping
I want to
Tupac.
know. Yeah, see, that's where I'm going with it.
Yeah, no, I feel and I
And
get
you know
it.
that he meant every word that he said.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's
and
why
he
I
looked at-
dig him.
I actually saw a clip today of Tupac on stage with like Snoop Dogg, and he was like, yeah, Biggie can't, Biggie didn't say I got shot 5 times by Biggie. He didn't come back. That's why I fucked this bitch. And she pregnant. He over there waiting like a dad. Like he don't know who the father is, yada yada. But he don't know that I wore a rubber, so it ain't mine. Like he was just saying like random ass shit, and everyone was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like,
Unfortunately, it cost him his life.
yeah, I mean he created the greatest diss song
Yeah.
of all time. Don't get me wrong. He literally started. Have you heard that song? Hit him up. He
No, you
starts.
haven't?
He's
Oh, bro, you gotta hear it.
He starts the song with "That's why I fucked your bitch, you fat motherfucker."
For reference, Brendan is the big music head of the two of us, and then I'm the movie head. So he'll talk about music, and
way
I'll just be like blank stare, like, dude, I don't know what he's saying. And
Bro.
then I'll talk about movies, and he'll blank stare. I don't know what the fuck he's
top
saying.
movie of all time.
My top movie of all time, probably Silence of the Lambs.
Really?
Yeah, I think that
he
it's
likes horror.
really,
I'm
really
a
good.
big horror fan.
Yeah, he like
too.
loves
Yeah.
horror.
I think that it's a really, really well-made movie, and it broke a lot of the societal norms at the time, and has a lot of really good metaphors for the way that society kind of is sometimes, and was especially at the time. And it also set up one of like the coolest and most like ambitious villains of all time.
Right. Yeah. He's a good actor, Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah,
he
Anthony
plays that
Hopkins.
role like perfect, bro.
Yeah, he doesn't blink at all during the whole
No,
movie.
he's
His favorite actor, Robert Pattinson.
Yeah,
Oh,
based
really?
Yeah,
Uh,
Batman.
Also, the guy from Twilight. Yes.
oh yeah, that was.
But
I was trying to. I've never seen a Twilight movie. But
Yeah, no, I feel
I've
you.
read the book.
But
Yeah.
he's really good in everything else that he's in. He's in a lot of like really small indie films. He only picks like really weird roles. He's also in Tenet, which is a really good movie.
Fire movie.
Have you ever seen Schindler's List?
Yeah, love Schindler's List.
So you don't think that's one of the greatest movies of all time?
I mean, yeah, I
Is
like,
that
but
one
you
of your greatest
like,
movies of all time?
Easily top 3.
I definitely think it's up there, like as one of the greatest movies of all time. But that's
Yeah.
like Silence of the Lambs is more like a personal choice of like this
Right.
is like somebody could send me a photo of like a random still, and I would be like, oh, that's Silence of the Lambs you're watching right now, dude.
It puts the lotion on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know?
Puts the Yeah, that's
Puts
a
the
great
lotion on
movie.
the
It
skin.
absolutely is. Good pick.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
What about yours? Schindler's List, obviously.
No, I'd have to say my top movie of all time
Yeah.
ever created would have to be Braveheart.
Braveheart, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome pick.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Braveheart.
Oh, what a wild time. This is not what I thought we were going to talk about.
Honestly, this could be like our come up.
Yeah, Doritos, tamales, music, and Tupac and movies.
Yeah.
I don't even know what my top movie would be, to be honest with you. Shit. Fuck. I don't know, bro. Batman?
Yeah.
No, the Batman.
Dark Knight.
Right?
Yeah, Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Joker.
the Dark Knights are dope, bro.
Like
the Joker movie was dope. I barely watched it when I got out. That is
and
very good
my
movie.
argument for that is
I hate
I know,
that
I'm-
noise.
I'm
That
so-
noise is so bad.
yeah,
Oh.
that was my bad. My nail like clipped
Yeah,
into
it
it.
was like chalkboard almost.
No, my argument for that movie is we have never seen somebody else push themselves to be so great to a character where he ends up killing himself because he put himself in that.
Who's that?
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
the guy who plays the Joker.
he
Did
got-
he kill himself?
He committed
right
suicide
before the movie came out.
Yeah,
I
because
know he passed. I didn't know he killed himself.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
because he got into such a demented mindset to play the Joker and got into such an evil mindset that he couldn't live with it anymore.
He also had on record
Issues.
stuff with like antidepressants and stuff.
Right. It was
So
an
I think he
appeal
OD'd.
thing, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
OD'd.
But
I don't know. I kind of think Joaquin Phoenix gives him a very good run for his money in the movie Joker.
I think he gives him a good run comic wise because it's almost like early Joker and like how like the origin of like
Evil.
yeah of like how he started. But I think like just the Joker people really know
He
and
played,
like
yeah, Heath Ledger played that
like
that
to
role.
a T. You know what I mean?
Very
yeah,
good,
like
bro.
it was just that's why like for
He even
me
won an award for it, right?
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
He did.
I thought he won like an
think-
Oscar for it.
I don't know because I
think
don't
he
remember
did.
how I don't know how it works because he was passed by the time.
Oh, I feel
So
you.
I don't really know how they handled that, but I think that he definitely got like a commemorance
Yeah.
of sorts.
But he deserved it. It
Yeah.
wasn't just because hey, you're dead. Like
Yeah,
Biggie,
no,
like,
yeah, no, it was
hey,
like,
you're
yo,
dead.
you played one of the
I mean,
greatest characters.
now-
That's kind of
nowadays-
like the love Biggie gets now. Hey, you're dead. You get this love.
Yeah.
But Heath Ledger was like, he actually earned that. You know, yeah, I took a shot at Biggie.
Big E's the
that's crazy.
Big E's the Heath Ledger of music. Got it.
Yeah, that's wild. That's a crazy comparison.
All right.
But yeah, like I said, I really do appreciate you
Yeah,
know you
appreciate
kind of
you
come
guys
up
having
on
me.
here. I guess we.
Oh yeah, let's come up real quick. Sorry, we already kind of are cummed up, but
yeah.
that was a bad sentence.
But I guess before we do our come up, yeah, thank you for coming on here. Thank you for obviously sharing your story. I think that you shouldn't like obviously me knowing you personally, like I think you should genuinely like walk around with like your head like the highest fucking held.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
It was an actual pleasure to meet you, man.
Likewise.
And I have the utmost respect for you and like thank you for sharing your story with us, especially on this platform and being vulnerable about it and
Yeah,
everything.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, because obviously, like, you took a chance, you know, coming on here. Just because, like, you know,
Adam
people,
said.
yeah, like people talking about their past, let alone like prison life and like coming up with stuff like that. Like, you know, you take a chance of like, you know, bringing back, you know, old memories and bringing back, you know, past shit, you know, and just bringing it up. And the fact that, you know, you were just like, yeah, bro, like, of course I could do that. You know what I mean? And it wasn't even like a second thought type thing. I really do appreciate that. And, you know, for me, it's just more like, I'm glad we were able to kind of give you this, but it's more of a treat for us, like, and for me than it is like me trying to do something for you. Cause I've always been curious about like your story and like, you know, obviously the stories you tell me and stuff like that, but I don't know, it kind of meant a big deal to me.
Yeah, I'll be able to disclose more when I'm off probation.
Hella. Hell yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, like, dude, when you get off probation, like, we're partying it up. We're celebrating hella, bro. It's going to be fucking lit.
Yeah, you know, God willing, man.
Hell yeah, man. But yeah, let's come up.
All right. Brandon?
I wanted to talk about the absolute psychoticness that's happening in Arizona right now due to Super Bowl weekend. If you are anywhere near Westgate or Glendale around this weekend when this drops, just stay away. And if you live in that area, don't go to work. Literally call the weekend off, call the week off, bro, because that shit's going to be stupid,
If you're in
bro.
the service industry, you're going to
Yeah.
get fired.
Yeah, bro, if you're working at the Westgate Tanger outlets, like, I'm so sorry
Anywhere
for you.
in the proximity of
Westgate is going to
the
be
stadium.
fucked for the next, like, week.
Yeah.
It's going to be so
Literally.
stupid. But hey, bro, I'm gonna go find me a sugar mama at one of these bars
Well,
for
it's not
sure.
gonna be hard, bro. You got all kinds of out of staters here now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
bro. I'm gonna go find me a sugar mama for real, for real. That is the goal for this weekend. Is to go find me a sugar mama. You know, if I call off D&D, just know that I'm putting in work.
This guy.
But yeah, I think the Eagles are gonna win the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs are.
Are you an Eagles fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been
I
so
agree.
excited.
Not really. He's not really an Eagles fan.
No.
No, he's a
I'm
he's,
an-
he,
I-
he, he's an Eagles fan. But he
I don't
watch
really
football.
watch football a whole lot, but I've always liked the Eagles.
But you've had a team. That's
Yeah.
fair. Yeah.
I-
You
I've
gotta
liked
be like
them
a fanatic to have a team.
I've liked them since before Michael Vick was there, so
Oh, that's a long time.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
So,
a
you know.
very long time. Yeah.
You know,
they're-
Brendan, and then Brendan gets on me because
I
he's like, "You just like them because they're winning now," and I'm like, "I've always liked them."
They kind of always been a winning football team. I think they just won a Super Bowl a few years back.
Yeah, that
5
was
years ago.
crazy.
Yeah, that's
That was a crazy Super
yeah.
Bowl.
They got a very dominant football team. Very
Oh, yeah.
dominant. I got them too.
Let's go
So-
Philly.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Chiefs. Don't get me wrong. Mahomes is crazy. Kelsey's cool, but they don't have anything to like keep as a shootout with that team. Like the Eagles' offense is just too high powered.
Yeah, well, we seen when the Chiefs played Tampa Bay, and the Chiefs didn't know what to do with that defense. So when Mahomes is pressured and sacked, like they're not.
And that's the thing about the Eagles' defense. The Eagles' defense, like they're at 100%.
no, they got a championship defense. It's gonna be a very good football game.
Yeah, it's gonna be nuts. Yeah, it'll be really cool to see.
I'll be working, but I'm excited.
You'll be making a lot of money.
I really hope so.
No, you really will, bro. Like you should have some high rollers really coming in and hopefully spending some guap.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited,
Hell yeah, brother. What do you want to come up on?
dude. What do you want to come up on? What's the fun little breather from all the?
Something to end on. You know what I mean?
The fun little breather as far as to like get away from things, or
Yeah,
Yeah, just
a
anything. Quote of
lighthearted
the
thing.
day, lighthearted shit. You know, maybe some just slight, a little quote, something, bro.
a little quote.
Talk more about why Tupac's better, whatever. You know?
I'm really gonna miss Josh. That's something I want to come up on.
Yeah, facts, bro. Hey, Josh is gonna watch this, but Josh is no longer working with us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
why?
He went to go do excavation. So like basically plugging holes
I'm really
in the
gonna.
street.
I took a liking to him. I'm really gonna. At first, we didn't get started off on the right foot.
He almost got knocked out like 3 times by Steven.
I mean, that sounds like Josh. To be fair.
yeah.
Well, sorry, bud, but
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. You know, Josh is a very certain character, but I mean, you know,
But
he
grows
grows on
on
you.
you. Yeah,
he-
absolutely.
He grows on you,
Grows
and
on
he's one of those people. Like the more you hang around him, the more you're like, all right, I get why you're the way you are.
Yeah.
You know, and you kind of understand him, and he's a fucking goofy ass dude, and you know, he kind of makes work fun and lighthearted and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's a good come up. I know he watches all of our episodes.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so I know.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss you, Josh.
Yeah, for real. And hey, we'll see you Friday, bro.
Yeah, we'll see him Friday.
Yeah. What about you?
So a long while back in a part that like right by where I live, there was a movie theater that used to be open, and I'm gonna bleep out the name for the episode, but for you guys, it was Palm Valley Cinema. So it was this old movie theater.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
dude. And it was
Bro, they didn't give a fuck.
no, they were super dead all the time. Like, didn't really have that many attendees. We would go whenever like all the big movies would premiere. That would like the theater that we normally go to would be packed.
Did you ever create a schedule? Like, did you ever have like a paper schedule where you would write all the different playing times where you could link like maybe like 3 or 4? Yeah, like we would spend days
No,
at the movie. Like we would movie hop, but they didn't care because they were all just like,
they were all people who just didn't give a fuck.
yeah.
No, I didn't really ever movie hop, but I like ticket stubs.
Oh, okay.
So, like I just collect them. I have like a jar of them basically. But we would go to this theater and like go there instead of going to the big theater because it was like there's 3 people in this theater, so we're gonna watch on opening night this movie, vibe out with 2 other people in the theater, and we're just gonna fuck around and have a fun time.
Rip
It was a great time.
rip to that fucking movie theater.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was awesome. It was definitely a little bit run down, but it closed a long time ago. It closed a while back, like around 2016, 17, which doesn't sound like that long ago, but in my head it is. And then COVID adds like 5 years.
Yeah, bro. COVID made everything like 10 years longer. This shit was stupid.
And
Yeah,
so,
and I was in prison when it hit.
Swear.
Dang.
Yeah.
was that weird?
Yeah, it was like everybody was like super scared. I was one of the first people to catch it.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
They put me in the hole. They put me in the hole as a problem to solve it, right?
What?
So I'm like stuck in this hole for 2 weeks while I'm freaking sick with COVID. It was like a freaking bro. It was,
well, I'm glad you're alive.
Yeah, me too.
That sounds awful.
yeah.
They were like, all right, well, go deal with it.
You gotta be-
Meanwhile, everybody's in their homes with
Yeah.
their laptops and computers.
yeah. So you got to be like handcuffed to go to the shower. You know when.
Oh
You're
my
in the hole.
God.
So I had to crawl off the top bar.
Wait, you didn't do anything wrong, but they still would handcuff you when they did it?
Yeah.
What? Come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's whack. Sorry, man. That
It's all right.
sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
I mean, what else am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
But anyway, that theater closed, and I have a lot of great memories from it. And I want to get a neon sign for like movies because I really like movies. And so like just to have in the house as decoration because we kind of want to fill some more walls because we just got renewed for our 3rd year. And so I want to get one that says the name of the theater, like Boom Boom Cinema. And it's like an old like retro looking sign. I'm real kind of excited about figuring out how much that's going to cost and where it's going to go. I have a rough price estimate, but
Yeah, what are we looking at? So that way I know about mine.
it's like 100.
You're going to have to send me a link where you get
Well, it looks like a cinema sign.
Oh.
So it looks like a vintage theater sign, kind of.
Got you.
That's
Never-
pretty
But
dope.
I'm
Yeah.
also going to have like my roommates help me with it. So
Fire.
it'll be
dope.
like
Yeah, I like
35
that
bucks
idea.
each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit's sick.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, shit.
Looks like we're wrapping up. But Brendan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at KillerB420, Twitter KillerB420, and TikTok at KillerBDabs.
You can find me at RQ on Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Steven, I assume they don't really have anywhere to find you.
No, you can find me through Brendan.
I was gonna say, you can
Or through you.
Yeah, if you need to hit up my boy, hit me up. You know what I mean? I'll have your peoples talk to my peoples. We'll set it up.
Yeah.
You can find him working.
Literally.
You just won't find me in the street.
Hey,
Facts.
that's originally what I was gonna say, but I was like, that sounds bad. That's
Yeah.
not what I mean.
Or in a church house. If you're looking for me,
Yeah,
I'll be in the church
that
house.
would have been good. Damn.
Yeah, if you're trying to find Steven, he's reading the Bible. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in his pews. In the pew, whatever.
Hell
Brendan, where
yeah.
can they find us?
On Instagram at Coming Up for Air, Twitter Up for Aircast, and TikTok Coming Up for Air Podcast.
And if you enjoyed listening to this episode, make sure to share it with somebody who might need it. Like, subscribe, all that lovely stuff. Rate the podcast because there's more to come. Thank you again so much, Steven,
Yeah,
for
thank
coming
you for
on.
having me, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Hell yeah, me
appreciate
too,
it.
bro. I'm sure you'll be back on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can't wait to have you back on. Hopefully, you'll be on the new set and everything. So
Facts.
you'll be nice.
It's gonna be so
you'll be in a
dope.
cozy chair.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna be so dope. You'll be able to kick your feet up and everything, bro.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Hell
So,
yeah.
but until next time, guys. See you next Wednesday.
Be a good human being, bitch.